Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerd Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Richard Dotson, with my fellow co-hosts, Matthew O'Hara.
Hey.
And Gareth Price.
How's it going?
Going good. It's going good. It's Tuesday night. Yeah. Wrapping up the week of some football. Some good news, some bad news, some players hurt, some players not hurt. Inching closer to the playoffs, inching closer to the end of the season, inching closer to rookie talk, inching closer to Turkey Day.
Ooh, gobble, gobble.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. So a lot going on here on this Tuesday evening. And we're going to start talking some Dynasty Fantasy Football. And we got a lot to talk about.
I think that would be a good thing to do.
It would be. It always is. We do it every week. We've done it for almost 8 years, every Tuesday night. So here we are once again. Before I get into all that awesomeness, because we got a lot to talk about today. We're going to talk about trades. We're going to talk a lot of trades today. We're going to talk about some rookies today. And, of course, we're going to kick it off with some injuries. But before we do, let's talk about you feeling alive. And you can feel alive with our friends at Thrive Fantasy. That's right. Come up and prop up on Thrive Fantasy. This football season, Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. With Thrive, you can eliminate those countless hours of research and focus on only those top-tier athletes that had a big impact of the game, right? Like those big-time dogs out there figuring it out, using their algorithms to get this right. That's not what Thrive's all about. Thrive is what they're going to do is they're going to give you 20 player props, over, unders on touchdowns, interceptions, completions, all kinds of fun NFL statistics. And all you got to do is pick one. It's a 50-50 chance.
That's all you got to do.
There's a winner every single time. And all you got to do is pick one of those. Each one of those props is assigned a certain value, right? A fantasy value for those. And whoever gets the most points can win up to, like $5,000.
How long until they start bringing out, will this player make it through this game uninjured?
If it's a running back,
Yeah.
I'm probably taking the under.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Not going to happen. So it's fun. I encourage everybody to get into Thrive right now, thrivefantasy.com, and just at least check this out. Right now, they have a really good special offer by using that promo code NERDS. If you deposit $10, you get 2 free $20 NFL or NBA contest tickets. Or if you deposit $100, you get 4 free NFL or NBA contest tickets. So that's literally $80 free of contest you could go in there and play for free, try to win that big money if you deposit $100. On top of that $80, they're also going to match your first deposit 100%. So if you put $100, your account instantly has $200 in it, right? So you have that $100 of free money, and then you have those free 4 tickets. So it's $180 you get for free to gamble on, just to pick some prop bets. And if you're better at picking prop bets than I am, you're probably going to take $180 and turn into $1,080, which is 10 times. Was it 10 times?
That was good math. Not
180 times 10. You add the zero.
1,800.
So you add the zero. 1,800. You add a zero, but then you got to add a comma too because you're adding those zeros.
Right. Got to have the comma.
I'm lost. This
those
is too
wheels
difficult.
turning in that head.
It is. This hamster's getting tired. A little overweight in there. So right now, you can do all that free stuff with that promo code NERDS. All you got to do is get to thrivefantasy.com, or you can check out Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or Play Store today. Check them out. Get that free money. Do good things with it. Because me, I try. So that's good enough.
Questionable.
So, here I am. Some prop bets this week. Some really good ones if you're interested. Kyle Pitts. Over under 62.5 yards.
6 times over under.
Over is 110 points. Under is 90 points. That's. I like that. I'll take the over on that. Take the over on that. Jonathan Taylor, over under a half in rushing touchdown. Over is 80 points. Under is 120 points.
He's got a touchdown like 5 or 6 straight games. I'm taking the over.
I know, but that's why the over is worth only 80 points and the under is worth 120 points.
Yeah,
Keenan Allen, over under 6.5 receptions. Over is 95 points. Under 105 points.
Spicy.
I would take Kyle Pitts over, Jonathan Taylor over, Keenan Allen under. I'm going for the points. Trying to win $5,000.
You're chasing the points on that.
I still think I want over on all of them.
I want over for sure on Keenan Allen. I'm going to say under just to be that person on the touchdowns, and over for sure.
Why?
On
Jonathan
the Pitts.
Taylor haters. This is like flashbacks, PTSD from the Clyde Edwards-Helaire Jonathan Taylor debates.
No, it's just he's done it 5 games in a row. He's bound to not
he's bound to suck now.
have one game.
Yeah, I tweeted out. I was like, "Hey, Jonathan Taylor's running Dynasty running back 1." And people were like, "Oh, about time you got in the bandwagon." I got a couple tweets saying, "Oh, thanks for telling me to draft CEH." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I wish I was right all the time." Yeah, good for me. Yeah,
That's all right. I was a big JJ Arcega-Whiteside fan. That panned out well.
Yeah, at least Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still the starting running back for Kansas City.
Is he?
Oh, he is. He will be. Don't you worry. He's not that bad. Let's talk about
Derek
some injuries, right? Stop hurting my feelings. Let's talk about hurt players.
Okay.
Kyler Murray. Didn't
Wait,
play last week.
whoa.
What?
What section are we on?
Injuries.
Thank you.
Come on, Jared. You
I
have
fell
one
asleep at the wheel.
job.
I got trade offers. Give it.
Come on, man.
Kyler Murray didn't play this last week. Really hurt me in the Scott Fishbowl. Left me with Josh Allen only. Josh Allen didn't do too good for me.
You should have started the other Josh Allen.
And I faced I faced James Conner. Got my first loss in Scott Fishbowl. Not very happy about that.
Yeah.
Not very happy.
He scored like 40 points in normal PPR. I don't know what the
how
much he scored there
I
in
faced him in
Scott
multiple
Fish, yeah.
leagues, and I lost in multiple
You lost
leagues.
to James Conner by himself.
Yep.
Yeah, because Izzy Elkafast from Dynasty Trade Calculator, he's still undefeated in Scott Fishbowl. I'm like, yeah, I lost this week. He's like, yeah. I'm like, James Conner, thinking he's the other James Conner, thinking he's a Terminator out there. I was like, this is like the 1,307,000th worst thing that's ever happened to me. Depressing. But Kyler Murray might be back this week. Not overly optimistic. Not guaranteed he's even going to play. They might not want to rush him back. Colt McCoy looked pretty solid out there. So
I think the latest news was that they're not going to rush him back again. Basically, they're going to look at the long-term view, right? Like it's not guaranteed for this week.
look how he was last year when he got hurt.
Yeah.
He was like superstar. Then he was like, oh, hello, Tertis Fergus.
Yeah. So I think it's probably in their best interest to kind of, and it's not like they're losing a bunch of games without him. So.
That's the thing. I mean, Colt McCoy played well. They
Right.
beat. I know San Francisco is not a world beater right now, but they're still a decent team with a decent defense. It's good to see.
Yeah,
It
they
is.
didn't have DeAndre Hopkins.
Hopkins is day to day still too.
He's day to day. So I don't think Kyler Murray plays this week. So if you need to readjust, right, go from the left to the right, maybe go out and pick up Colt McCoy in the Superflex League.
He's out there. He's available.
Carolina probably won't play.
PJ Walker's another guy that's probably going to be available, right?
Oh yeah, Sam Darnold.
Sam
got that
Darnold just announced today.
broken spatula. Yeah,
What was the term?
Scapula.
Scapula.
yeah.
Where is your scapula?
Good luck flipping those burgers.
I think the scapula, isn't it your like shoulder blade or no?
I thought the scapula is what they like the tool they use to like.
Flip burgers. Yeah.
No,
I got a
that's
Browns
not-
one. I got a Browns
Scalpel?
one, so I can press hard on my
Scalpel.
burger.
You're thinking of scalpel.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little knife.
I'm going to look up the
doctor.
scapula right now.
Yeah, me
As-
too.
as
Not a
we're-
doctor, not a burger flipper,
A football player.
not a quarterback right now either.
Yeah.
There's
So,
Dr. Jesse Morse when you need him.
Yeah, it's. I think it's these. It's
we're doing a podcast, and you're pointing to your.
It's on YouTube
Flip to
too.
YouTube.
it's your shoulder
On
blade.
YouTube
right.
too.
He's like, look at this.
Watch on.
It's your shoulder.
Try to
blades.
reach your back
Yeah,
with your arm, and that's your scapula.
yeah.
Look at this, Dr. Jared.
Dr. J.
Dr. J. Somebody who's not hurt anymore, Russell Wilson's coming back. Odell Beckham possibly going to Seattle. They say reports are he's leaning towards Green Bay. Kansas City's an option, but obviously Seattle is another option out there. Well, which would be weird because, like, why do you want to go compete with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf? Like, go to
Green Bay would make a lot more sense if Green Bay's interested. And that's
and
the
Kansas
thing.
City would too.
Kansas City would make a lot of sense. You could tell in that offense that once they've, the too high safety thing has really been big in the NFL this year. That's really hurt Kansas City bad because you can't take those deep shots. You need somebody else underneath to be able to make some plays. You could tell they've been really missing a second receiver this year. So it would make a lot of sense for him to go there.
I think it would make sense if he goes there. But Russell Wilson is going to be back from his finger injury. So now if he wants to give you the bird, he can give you the full bird. Wait, that wasn't even the right finger, right? Was he holding it? It was like the pointer finger?
I thought it was his middle finger.
Oh, was it?
I think so.
I think it was his
bird.
middle finger.
Now I give people the bird when I'm driving
Tua's
by.
middle finger. I don't know.
Oh, maybe that's what I'm confusing it with.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Tua.
Okay, well,
I've actually seen you give somebody the bird, and I was dying because you gave it like this.
Yeah.
I give people the bird. Check out the YouTube channel. Tua Tagovailoa coming back. Game time decision, small fracture in his middle finger of his throwing hand. Not pain related, but can't throw far enough with the injury. So he's the complete opposite of Uncle Rico and Al Bundy. So Tua, that's the news. Nothing's going on there in Miami besides Mike Gesicki and Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of a bummer too. He just seems like he can't stay healthy, right?
Did you see those catches by Mike Gesicki?
Dude,
Yes.
he almost had 3 of them. He dropped the one.
He did this last year too.
Is he like the next big thing at tight end? Is he like
I mean, he
slowly
absolutely could
emerging
be.
and like he could be the next big thing? I think.
I saw his somebody posted his basketball like mixtape this past week, and I was like, holy cow! Like this dude in high school is like doing windmills and like
Yeah, he's a freak.
he's a crazy athlete.
So Mike Gesicki's tight end currently number 4 overall in PPR leagues. He has 101.5 points. He's 5 points behind TJ Hawkinson. He's only 9 points behind Mark Andrews. He's 26 behind Travis Kelce. That's the way it works. Yeah, I think besides like the big names of like Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, Kelce, I think if I'm in a Superflex tight end premium, even outside of Superflex tight end premium where I just want a tight end, like again, what seems like an overpaid day would be like an underpaid tomorrow. Like I am a firm believer you want to have one of those really good, consistent young tight ends. Mike Gesicki falls into that category. He's only 26 years old on this Dolphins football team, uber athletic. He was making those plays last year as well. So if he can get a little consistent more in the quarterback play, I mean, he has a chance to be the number 1, the number 2 option on this football team.
The one thing that gives me slight pause is most of this production has come with Devontae Parker out. Devontae Parker traditionally is the number 1 receiver in that offense.
He's also traditionally always injured.
He is traditionally always injured. But anytime a guy really plays well when other guys are out, it always just makes me wonder what's the target share going to be like? Who's really going to be the apple of the quarterback's eye when they come back? So that's enough to give me a little bit of pause. But absolutely, at this point, top 6-7 consideration there at tight end, and a guy with real upside.
Yeah, I mean, outside of like Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson, and Kyle Pitts, you take away Darren Waller and Travis Kelce just on age alone. I mean, you're really wrestling guys like, Dallas Goedert. You're looking at there.
Noah Fant.
What about George Kittle?
George Kittle. I mean, George Kittle's an animal himself too. George Kittle's 28 years old too. I mean, it's only a 2-year difference. So, but still, I mean, like, okay, here's a good example, right? You're a contender. You can use a tight end. I bet you could probably get Mike Gesicki for a first-round pick.
I think that would do it.
Yeah, and I'd feel totally good with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't have any issue with doing that, especially with how barren the wasteland tight end has been overall this year, and most years, to be honest. I'd be willing to do that.
And it's such a hard, like, not only when you got a draft position, then you got to draft a position and then let the position develop. Obviously,
yep.
We're going to talk about Pat Freiermuth. He has a chance to finish as a tight end 1 this year, possibly. But it's so hard to get a production within the first 3 years of his contract anyway. So, like, you want, as a contender, you need to grab somebody who immediately help you. And then by doing so, it'd be also nice to seal up that deal where you're also getting young, right? Like, a good way to play Dynasty is like when you want to go there and buy somebody, give them a first-round pick. A lot of times you do that for older football players. Mm-hmm. So there's ever an opportunity to seal up, let's say, a position for a first-round pick that you could seal up and lock that up for, say, 3 to 5 years. That is a fantastic investment for a first-round pick. Different for 2022. So to me, if I'm a contender and Mike Gesicki's on a team that's not a contender and I can offer that team a first round pick, I think it's a massive win for any dynasty team, and I would be happy to do so. That's just me, and I would do that trade tomorrow. I did it last year for Dallas Goedert.
Any concern with him going into last year and not getting any sort of extension talks?
No, because he would go somewhere else and get paid and still be the guy. I mean, there's tons of other teams that could utilize a tight end in their offense, right? What if Zach Ertz doesn't re-sign in Arizona? Look what he's doing there in Arizona with Kyler Murray. He went to Arizona. What if he went to, I don't know, who else needs a tight end? Everybody does, I feel like.
There's a lot of teams in need. I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Okay.
Because it's like that right now.
You know what I mean? Like,
but yeah, there's
tons of spots.
Absolutely.
Like Mike Gesicki can go anywhere and play ball and look good doing it.
right. He could stay in the division, go to the Jets. Like they absolutely need a tight end. They
need a tight end. Jacksonville. Yeah. I mean, they got Dan Arnold now. That's a situation. I mean, any up and coming team that can use a tight end. So I think Mike Gesicki's, again, it's always good in dynasty. Definitely when you're a contender, is to use those first round picks to your advantage. Definitely when you grab a young guy, definitely at a needful position like a tight end. And that goes honestly for any other position, a wide receiver, the quarterback. If you can use those first round picks, not only to better your team now to help you win a championship, but also grab a couple of years on top, to me, that's just a massive win. You'll worry about those picks when it's time to worry about those picks. And that's when you're ready either to reload and rebuild or when you're just out of it. You know what I mean? Like when something comes on. And 10, in the meantime, we were talking about this before, like Michael Liu. He talks about liquidity. That's exactly what he was talking about on his show recently. That's exactly what draft picks should be. They should be fluid on your roster. Like draft picks are great to have. Definitely those late round picks where you hit some upside guys. But at the same time, that's your best position, and it's the gold mine to all those reload teams because they want to make draft picks as you can. You got to utilize those to grab those proven players. I think sometimes too much in Dynasty, people are attached. It's a ball and chain to those draft picks. I can't give up my draft picks. I can't give up my draft picks. Meanwhile, all my teams I'm contenders on, I'm constantly giving away my draft picks. Just constantly because you're getting such a good return on that investment. You're getting players that can help you, not even for this year. I'm not trading for, Randy Moss, or I'm not trading for Julio Jones, right, but guys that actually help you for multiple years.
Yeah, you and I recently made a deal in the Nerds Invitational League, and you're like, hey, can I get a second round pick with that? I'm like, well, you're going to have to wait till 2024 because that's my next second round pick that I have because I'm a contending team that could win it all this year. And so, I couldn't agree more. You have to utilize those as opportunities because as sexy as rookie picks are, and I'm maybe somebody that falls into it even too much because I love the Devy aspect. I'm watching all these games. I get excited about these prospects years in advance, and so I get attached to them. But ultimately, there's never going to be a title that said most rookies on your team or best rookies. It's going to be who won the championships.
And that's the trap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All those young players, that's the trap of the contending team. You have to be able to pry yourself away from them as a contending team and just kind of focus not solely on winning a championship because you do have to have kind of an eye on the future, but you can't get trapped into thinking these are the assets that are going to be coming down the pipeline and I can't possibly trade those away. That's you can't look at that. You can't look at your team like that and expect to succeed.
Yeah, the focus has to be on winning. It has to be on winning. We literally just talked about again last week. We talk about it all the time on this podcast where there's tons of Dynasty content out there that says, hey, this is the right move here. Analytically, this is where we're going to be for long term. Yeah, okay, great. Long term. How do I win this year? What position am I in to win this year? I'm in position to do so. What do I have to give up to do that? And then everything else I'll figure out later, right? 2022, 2023. I'll figure that out. Again, if I have enough good assets on my team, I can flip those later and regain all that compensation I gave up, if not more.
Right. If you've cleared out your 2022, 2023, and 2024, all those draft classes, guess what? When the calendar flips to the next year, you're going to have 2025 picks that are going to be loaded in there as well. They just keep coming, and you can keep spending and spending away. You know what I mean? There's always going to be more coming down the pipeline.
So yeah, good. It's a good way. Again, we preach it a lot because not a lot of people. It's easy to forget that. I want Mike Gesicki. Well, I want your first. I can't do that. What do you mean you can't do that? You need a tight end. What do you Yeah. You're literally not going to win a year because you want to hold on a draft pick. Then you end up drafting Henry Ruggs, or you end up drafting J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, or
right.
Definitely those late round draft picks where the highest risk value comes into effect as it is.
Absolutely.
Anyways. High first round picks are risk value, but every slot you go down just becomes a higher risk value. I mean, you have a chance the whole first round. It's we talk about all the time, these guys, there's only 12 wide receiver ones. 12. And a third of those guys are going to be older gentlemen anyways, right? The
older gentlemen.
The DeAndre Hopkins.
I need to offend anyone here. They're just older gentlemen.
So it's easy to get confused like that. I'm always I'm going to draft the next CeeDee Lamb. I'm going to draft the next Justin Jefferson, right?
You just drafted two players that I don't know who they are.
There's only so many of those guys.
I don't know. Number 2 is Jamar Chase. 4 is Debo. 6 is Marquise. Those are older gentlemen. Younger gentlemen.
I know, but Debo Samuel. Okay, Debo Samuel was 3 years later. You could have had Debo Samuel last year for probably 2 seconds. He was hurt. You know what I mean? You could have bought Debo Samuel.
Maybe even one.
And Jamar Chase, listen, and Jamar Chase, outlier. I'm not putting Jamar Chase in this conversation because those guys don't come around too often. And even to hit those, they don't come around too often. So, yeah, you're right. And you're right. Those guys are a little bit younger and they will come through. But how many times has Debo Samuel finished as wide receiver 1? And I love him. I just traded for him, too. We'll talk about him in the trade episode. I just made a trade for Debo in Dynasty League. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But, you're talking about it's a mixture. You don't get a lot of these young guys that are going to come in and help you right away. And again, you got to think for the future, like Matt said, but if you're in position to make your team significantly better now, I'm not saying just do it stupidly, but like, hey, it could be Julio Jones, right? Like, a guy like Mike Gesicki. If you can get a guy that's 28, even a guy like Robert Woods, right, who's sneakily like wide receiver 11 or 12 right now, a guy who's 28, about to be 29, that people view as a little bit older, and you get a couple more years out of it. Again, when you say that, when we talked about this before in the show many times, where people are like, oh, you only get like you only have 2 or 3 more years out of that guy.
That's 2 or 3 ships.
2 or 3 years is pretty good, man.
And just go in your Dynasty League history and look at your team and the rest of the league's teams, and then look at them 3 years ago. It's a completely different looking landscape as it is. And people throw it around too casually, like, oh, he's only got 2 more years. Well, that's 24 months, son. That's 2 more fantasy seasons. That's a long time, right? I know it's easy to flip out because time goes by so fast.
Right.
It's easy to say 2 years is nothing. But in the grand schemes of fantasy, that is, like you mentioned, that's 2 more ships you can win. And if you win 2 ships in a row, you're going to be telling your grandkids about that.
For sure.
Look at Granddaddy. I won 2 ships, 2021 and 2022.
2 or 3 years ago, who were we talking about as like the best running back? It was like Le'Veon Bell, you know what I mean? And now we're
Todd Gurley.
Yeah, now they're all old and crusty and out of the league, and that's how quickly this whole thing turns over.
Yeah, I mean,
to your point.
Don't even look at your rosters. Look at Dynasty rankings 2 years ago.
That's true. All right, we should probably get back to injuries, though, and we can continue the trade talk
Thank
in the
you.
trade section.
This is a Dynasty advice show. We're spitting this advice for people that have been playing Dynasty for 20 years.
Tua has got a finger, a small fracture in his throwing finger.
I'm not over here bragging about me. Look at me.
It sounds like it's not that bad, though, because he's going to be the backup, right?
Right, and he was the emergency quarterback last week, so he could have played if he had to, but they figured that they suck. Why risk it?
Why risk it? Right.
Trevor Lawrence expected to play. He's got a low ankle injury. Zach Moss left the game with the concussion protocol. Jason Edmonds high ankle sprain will miss a few games from under. Stevenson left the game with the concussion protocol. Damian Harris, blah, blah, blah. Did I miss anything?
Let's go back through those.
Let's rewind that back a bit.
I got these notes, son.
All right. So Trevor Lawrence.
Expected to play. He's got a low ankle injury.
So nothing really to see there, right? I mean, that's one of those things.
Yeah, it's something to monitor, but yeah, nothing really to worry about.
Zach Moss left the game with a concussion. He's currently in concussion protocol. We'll see how many days he's going to miss. Devin Singletary, him. They've been a little bit of mix and match here, a little left, right. Now, next week is obviously Zach Moss's
bad. Week. I mean, they had Miami this week. This should have been the week of all weeks to be able to play what like. These
Buffalo
guys are both being replaced. They're both being replaced.
It's just they're 2 average backs that do need to be replaced.
Who's going to be back there in 2022? Who's going to make me go from 6 to
They need to establish a running game, there in Buffalo just as much as they do in Kansas City in order to get this covered.
They're taking a running back in the second round. I would be shocked if they made it through the second round and did not draft a running back this year.
I agree with that.
I concur.
All right, so Chase Edmonds, I think there's a little bit more meat on this bone, right?
Yeah.
He's got a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss multiple games. We're going to talk about James Conner here, and he's in my Nerd Herd episode. Is why I think he's a buy for your Dynasty team.
You're buying him now.
For a contender? Yeah.
Price is just gone.
We'll talk about it in the show.
Yep.
Like, I'm not paying a first-round pick for James Conner, but if you're
you just
selling
picked the wrong time to do it. That's what I'm saying.
No, people are looking to get out.
Eno Benjamin, the other back that came in during the game, actually got some carries, actually looked halfway decent.
Eno's always looked okay.
When he gets an opportunity,
but he's just one of those guys that's how he looks. He's never going to be a fantasy stud in my eyes.
And he's in a very similar role as Chase Edmonds, similar size, similar type player.
I think they're going to lean a little bit more on James Conner than
Didn't we
they
say
have
to buy
been.
James Conner like 3 weeks ago?
I think it was a sell.
We said get him out of here.
I think it was like one of those where if you're in a rebuild, sell.
Okay.
If you're a contender, buy. So now it's paying off.
Oh, he was the double guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
If I
the double
remember
guy.
right.
I think he was a sell. I think we all just said to sell.
Well,
we could be wrong. I don't know.
There's a lot of stats here that I have on the Cardinals of why he would be a buy now. I mean, no team runs like he's a power.
Save it.
Now I gotta slow it down.
So Ramondre Stevenson and
listen to the Nerd episode. I'll tell you why James Conner is a good buy and what I'd be paying for him.
We're just doing one mega episode that's 2 hours long. We're not even going to do a second episode.
So Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harrison both out with concussions last week. JJ Taylor getting a call up, or both these guys you think going to get cleared and be on with your day?
I hope they bump their heads in the staircase when they play the Browns this week, because if we can't have Nick Chubb, they can't have Damien and Ramondre.
Yeah.
It's only fair. It's only fair. I'm a fair guy. I'm a very fair person. If you ever meet me in person, I'm a very, very fair person. So it's only right.
It's true.
If I saw him right now, I'd throw a football at both their heads.
Yeah, Jared, you're right. Jared's over there saying Brandon Bolden.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha. Yep.
He's been doing a lot of the receiving work. I mean, both could potentially come back too. You never know. With some guys, concussion protocol, they make it through and they're fine for the next week. Some guys are out for like a month. So it's tough to say exactly. Ramondre Stevenson, though, was playing very well last week. And even while Damian Harris was playing on a touch-per-touch basis, Damian Harris was averaging, and granted, yards per carry, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, it was a drastic difference between the two players as to how one was performing versus the other.
Yeah, like what about that one drive where like Ramondre drove all the way downfield and they gave Damian a goal line carry?
Yeah,
like,
right at the goal line.
That was BS, man.
That was cold-blooded, man.
Yeah.
I was like, Ramondre. And that's the thing. Like, Ramondre has looked pretty good.
And he
opportunities.
passes the eyeball test every single time I see him run.
It's just don't fumble. And that's been the thing. He's had a couple costly fumbles.
Bill's not having
and
that.
Bill is not letting that slide.
Okay. Can we move on now after injuries?
We can move on.
What would you like to talk about, Garrett?
I want to talk about some of these rookies because I think this was unofficial rookie breakout week and no one told me. So I want to talk about some of these rookies. The number one wide receiver on the week, Elijah Moore.
Whoa.
8 targets, 7 receptions, 84 yards, 2 touchdowns. Now, it was a very weird game against the Colts. It was one of those ones where Colts just beat them to death. And then, like, at the last minute, there was some garbage time, and they kind of came back. But Elijah Moore with some really nice routes and made some big plays. There were some blown coverages as well.
The one touchdown was like he was literally playing, like he was making a snow angel in the end zone.
He was
like, there's a football.
Open. Yep. But he did make some very good plays. How encouraged are you by this performance? Do we think we start to see more of this now?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm encouraged by the targets. You know what I mean? Like I knew that he was a talented wide receiver. I thought that he would be able to translate to the NFL. He just wasn't getting a great opportunity. Obviously, he was a little nicked up at the beginning of the year, so he got off to a slow start. I'm just glad to see him get 8 targets in a game, and he converted a bunch of them. So.
Yeah, I'm about as shocked as this is some guy walking on me with a trench coat with a mustache. Like, I'm about to see some wiener. You know, like, pretty clear as day.
What the hell?
You see a guy walking up to you with just nothing but a trench coat on. He's got like a weird, creepy mustache.
Well, how did we go
like,
from Elijah Moore to trench coat wiener guy?
Because it's clear as day what I'm about to see here. Like, it's clear as day. Like, I'm going to see Elijah Moore is going to dominate when he gets the targets. And if some creepy guy walks on you with a weird looking mustache, he's wearing nothing but a trench coat. Like, you're about to see some wiener. So, like, it's clear as day. Literally the same thing. We're talking about the same thing. Elijah Moore. Weird trench guy with the pervy mustache.
You're literally comparing apples to apples.
I don't know how I missed that.
Bananas to bananas.
What was I thinking?
I don't know.
What are you asking me what I'm thinking? So, no, Elijah Moore, I mean, we broke it down during his rookie podcast. This guy is an elite, talented player who he constantly moved up our boards during our rookie prospect. We had him there right at the end of the debate. It came down to Rashad Bateman and Elijah Moore. Like, it was that close for how good those guys looked. And they were right behind the top 3, which was Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, and Jalen Waddle. And to be fair, they still sit there, right? Like Rashad Bateman and Elijah Moore. It was a really nice, talented rookie wide receiver class. We're going to have a couple players in here. They're going to be not all alphas. Like Jamar Chase is an alpha. I think Devontae Smith could be an alpha on your dynasty roster. Rashad Bateman, the Ravens are now throwing the second half way more, so he has a chance to be a very solid wide receiver 1. And I think Elijah
Real quick on that, because I've seen people say that a lot. And obviously the stats play it out. But we're also forgetting that they're missing their top 2 running backs, and they're running this Devonta Freeman and Le'Veon Bell and just all of these old like guys out there. Will this continue in the future once J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are back in the fold? That's just one like caveat I want to put on that. I understand they're passing more, but I don't know that that's a forever thing.
I mean, if the receivers produce, it will be. If
Rashad Bateman this could just be the evolution of Lamar Jackson.
It could be
turning into more of
possible.
a passer as well.
But I just want to throw a little water on that before we're like, oh, they're a pass first. It's Kansas City now. Like, I don't think this is the case.
If it works and it's going good, you're going to keep.
But we're talking about
right?
a short sample size.
Nobody loses to Virginia and says, "Oh, that was great."
I think
Never
they've
doing
run
that again.
most plays this year in the NFL too, because of all the extra. I think they have a couple
3 overtime games.
Yeah, luckiest team in the NFL.
Yeah.
I despise the Ravens.
They almost lost to the Lions.
If you're Ravens fans, no offense. I have nothing against you. It's just I despise the Ravens or Modell. Still my football team. No one won 2 Super Bowls. Eat it.
I just had to explain that to my son this past weekend. He wasn't happy either.
Well, you mean they wore the Browns and they left and got Ray Lewis and Jonathan Ogden and they won a couple Super Bowls? Yeah.
He was like, Dad, which one of these purple teams do you want to win? I'm like, never this team right here.
That purple one.
Never.
The one with the bird. Never.
2 teams.
You need to show him the
2 teams that never want to win: Michigan and the Ravens.
That's
never
fair.
under any circumstance. People are like, well, it helps Ohio State. I'm like, I don't care.
Show him the Football Life doc, or is it I don't know. NFL Network did a documentary on that was really good on the Browns leaving, because I don't remember it.
Oh man,
I was 5 when that happened.
I was in high school,
so I was
at the last game at the stadium when they were ripping up bleachers.
Stuff and taking
I was in the
urinals
dog
out.
pound. Yeah, it was insane, man.
Yeah, so like for me getting,
I was younger. I was in my like early teens.
Right. So I remember them coming back. Yeah. Like I had my Tim Couch jersey and all that stuff, but I don't remember them leaving. So it was good to like watch that and be able to understand it better.
Screw the Ravens. So, Elijah Moore, great prospect. Good luck trying to buy him. I would buy him. What's the most you would pay for Elijah Moore right now in Dynasty Fantasy Football? Like, would you give up if you're a contender, or even say you're not? I
don't think it matters a contender or not with a guy that's this young, this talented.
Because if you're a complete rebuild and your team blows donkey balls, so you could give up 2 firsts.
It's Elijah Moore. I mean, it's not like
I don't think I would
player.
give up 2 firsts either way.
But if you're a contender, you give up 2 firsts.
I don't think it would either way.
Why? You can trust him down the stretch?
Yeah, I would.
As a contender?
Give 2 firsts.
That's the thing.
But if you're a contender, yeah, Matt's right. Like, do you trust putting him in your starting lineup right now?
I wouldn't even care. I don't even care about putting my starting lineup right now. If I'm a contender, this is the kind of player I would like to have, and then maybe next year, like when you compete, if I have a really good team, that means I have 3 other really good receivers. I could flip one of those other good receivers for more draft capital later, and I'm getting younger.
I mean, that's awesome if that's true, but I'm trying to use my draft capital to get a guy that's going to help me win a ship right now.
We just had this conversation, right. I feel like.
We did, but what I'm saying
ships last forever, Rich.
But not all contenders need help.
He's trying to have it both ways now. Now he wants all his future picks or his future.
Listen, this is how again.
I'll give you Julio Jones.
When I say I like
you
to use
give
my
me
draft,
a first and Elijah Moore.
When I say I like to use my draft capital to stay a contender for a long period of time, these are kind of moves I like to make. I remember like players I give first round grades.
I get it.
Going to second round. Like
you're never going to get a player.
Him a first this year for Antonio Gibson, who was drafted. Right? He was taking the second. I was like, I'll give you my first next year for him. Oh, okay. Here we go. I got Antonio Gibson.
You're not going to get a player like Elijah Moore, most likely at the end of next year's draft for sure.
No, exactly.
Where you think you're going to be drafting. So that's why you're going to play.
You're not worried about the situation at all? Zach Wilson looking terrible?
I think he can overcome, and I think Zach Wilson can get better. I'm not going to judge Zach Wilson on 5 games of him coming to BYU either. I mean, if other players look good, he can possibly get better. If he doesn't, guess what? They're getting their quarterback in here.
I don't think you would have to pay 2 firsts though either.
No, you don't. I'm saying, but if you had, I'm asking if you would pay him.
I'd pay a first and a second.
My point about that though. Again, I would pay a first and a second too, but I think you have to pay more than that.
It depends on where the first is. If
first and 2 seconds.
If you're a rebuild or a middle of the road team,
well, it's different.
That might,
that'll work because he wants a high first. But like going back to the strategy of like giving up first, just because you're a contender doesn't mean you need help. You might have all the depth you can, but I'm never afraid just because I don't need help to go out here and attack guys like Elijah Moore when their price tag is going to go up to guaranteed you got to give me 2 firsts, up to maybe even 3 firsts. Like if I target a player that I like a lot, that I think has a potential ceiling, which I think Elijah Moore has the ceiling to be a pretty damn good wide receiver, up to the caliber of a borderline wide receiver 1, most likely probably a high-end wide receiver 2 to mid-range wide receiver 2 that I like, that's 21 years old, that can be my team for the next 10 years. If I'm a contender and I see those players, again, what looks like an overpaid today is underpaid tomorrow, it's like I still try to attack those players even as a contender and give up future draft capital because, again, if my team's good, I know I have enough players to go get other players I need back. Again, if I add Elijah Moore and he pans out, now my receiving core is even deeper. So now instead of trading Elijah Moore, who's my young guy, if I'm a contender, I probably have a couple guys that are maybe 26, 27, 28. Now I can take one of those guys and use him as an asset elsewhere. So like there's players I like and they're attainable.
I understand that his price is going to go up, and I understand what you're trying to say. I'm not sure I 100% get behind it and say if I'm a contender, this is the best way to make my team better. I think for the championship.
I think it's a way to make your team better because I think it's you
not for this year. Not for this year.
But my point is, not everybody needs to get better. Like you don't just because.
But you
not everybody has holes that they have to fill for this year.
But that might be short-sighted because what happens if you get 2 injuries between now and the end of the season before your trade deadline happens, and now all of a sudden where you don't have 2 first-round draft picks because you went out and got a young guy that can't help you this year?
I can make a counterpoint is the guy that you gave up your first-round picks for, then all of a sudden you trade for him and he gets hurt the next week. Or he gets COVID and he's out for 2 I mean, like, there's always a point to be made.
I will say this, too. There might potentially be a little bit of a lull in his price because, I mean, a week or 2 ago, you could have bought him for probably just a first because he wasn't performing well. The offense looked bad. Corey Davis was out this week, and he is still probably the main target in this offense. Once Corey Davis comes back, we'll have to see how the targets are distributed. Yeah, that word. Yep. We'll have to see what that looks like. So there could potentially be another small lull again, and that would be particularly if I'm really targeting him more, I might take that gamble and try to go get him then.
But again, this has nothing to even do what he did this week. This is a player I loved his tape, right? And sure. Jared just brought up a trade here in the Dynasty Nerds Trade Finder. Jalen Reagor, a 24 second and a 24 first for Elijah Moore. I love that even more because you're giving up 3 years down the road capital.
That's forever away.
So to me, I like deal. If there's a player I like, right, and he's really young, I want that player. Even if I don't need that player in my roster, I would rather try and get that player now before his value goes up, if I think his value will go up, and figure the rest out later. Like I could figure it out. I have a whole offseason to figure it out. Well, you could
say the same would be true as like get a player that helps you now and then figure the rest out later.
Yeah, but
if you're a contender.
Sometimes there's only windows to get certain players. So like if I think Elijah Moore is going to put up, see 8 targets, he's going to get 7 catches for 84 yards, not 2 touchdowns every week, but if he's going to average that and then a touchdown. So if he's starting to average 15.2 points per game,
if you're convinced that
price tag's going up.
If you're convinced that that's how he's going to play for the rest of the season, then sure. But I'm not necessarily convinced that he's going to be a solid wide receiver 2 in my fantasy lineup for the rest of the season.
I flipped the script on him, and I'm not worried about it. I think he has the opportunity this season, but again, I like him to do that long term, and that's where Matt said sometimes you got to think, long term too. So that's where this equation comes into effect. But let's go on.
Let's keep an eye on
more rookies.
You definitely.
All right, Devonta Smith had a really good
5
week.
First.
5 Give them Smith had 6 targets, which isn't an outrageous amount of targets necessarily, but had 5 receptions on that, 116 yards, 1 touchdown. You watch him play, he gets open so often. He makes plays. I know that the numbers overall, up until this point, haven't been super sexy. This is only, his 3rd touchdown, I believe. He hasn't had a ton.
Right.
But the writing seems to be on the wall that he can be one of those guys. Do you believe that he can be, a future, at the minimum, a low-end or a high-end wide receiver 2, if not a low-end wide receiver 1? And if so, what are you doing to potentially acquire him?
I definitely think that he can be exactly what you just said. Low-end wide receiver 1, a high-end wide receiver. He's got all the talent in the world to do that. And there was a reason we had him above Jamar Chase. It's because he gets open and with ease and has so much separation. And he's such a smooth athlete as well.
Very much so.
So, obviously he's converting, only 6 targets here to over 100 yards, 115 or 116, and a touchdown here in an offense that's kind of shifted a little bit. I feel like lately they've been trying to run the ball a little bit more since Miles.
Since your starting running back went down, let's run the ball more.
Since Miles Sanders went down, and they brought in Jordan Howard and Boston Scott. So it's nice to see it. I mean, maybe it's opening things up a little bit. I didn't actually get to watch any of that game, so I can't comment as far as route in and route out how he's looking. But
he looked fantastic. Yeah. He's constantly looked fantastic. Of course, I would. As far as can he be that? Yeah, there's again nothing. He's done like Elijah Moore just did what I thought he could do this week. Devonta Smith has been doing exactly what I thought he would do since day
all
1.
Season basically.
He's super smooth, constantly be open. He will constantly be open his entire career, not entire career, but until he loses a step. That's the kind of player he is. It's the reason why he won the Heisman, the first wide receiver to win the Heisman in over 30 years. This kid is just electric, right? He's a very good route runner. He's really smooth. He's got good hands. He's reliable. He will consistently, week in, week out, pretty much give you double-digit points. I would have no problem here, again, paying 2 for... Elijah Moore not paying 2 firsts, right? I said, would you pay 2 firsts? I'm probably not paying 2 firsts either.
First and a second, though.
For Devontae Smith, I
pay
have
2
no
firsts.
problem paying 2 firsts for. None. And I don't even care where I'm at, really. Like, I just feel like I will get better.
Especially, we talked about the 22 class. We're not super enthused at this point. There are some good receivers in that class.
There is. But why gamble? Just take the for sure thing here in Devontae Smith. To me, he's a for sure thing. Like, I think the sky's the limit for this kid. I think he is wide receiver 1 potential that could be consistent that way.
This week, I traded straight up. Now, it was before the game. Maybe there'd be different feelings afterward. But before the game, with Nate, he's one of our writers, made a trade with him, straight up Jalen Waddle for Devontae Smith. I got Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle. How do you guys feel about that? Because Waddle has produced all season.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where would you weigh in on that?
I think it's a very fair trade. I like Waddle a ton too. I remember when we were breaking down these rookies, I was like, man, I really like Waddle. Like, if Chase and Smith weren't so good, I could easily see in other years Waddle being my wide receiver 1. Like, he's that. He like, I like him a lot. Like, it's a shame he's number 3. I remember talking about that. So to me, it's a fair trade.
You're getting your guy, I feel like, at that point with that guy, because they are both very high upside wide receivers. Obviously, they're both rookies. So you are, if you're making a trade like that, is because you prefer the other person
Sure.
in the trade. You know what I mean? And they are that close. It's not like you're trying to fleece the other person at all in that kind of maneuver.
And people have done that. Here's a recent trade in the Trade Finder: a 22 third in Deebo Samuel for Devontae Smith and a 23 second. Like, that's a fair trade in my eyes. Like, you're staying young and you're kind of getting a player that you believe in more. Here,
and you move up around, which, traditionally, seconds, you actually have a shot at getting a good player. Thirds, it's just a complete dart throw. It might as well be a 5th.
Yeah, these players like Devontae Smith only gain value, right? Like, you get the best of both worlds. You get a guy who's going to give you double-digit points week in and week out, and you get him, he's super young. It's the reason I moved Jamar Chase up to my number 1 overall dynasty player. People are like, you can't do that. I'm like, I sure as hell can.
Watch me.
Somebody yelled at me, he's like, you can't put Jamar Chase ahead of Christian McCaffrey or John. I'm like, I sure can. It's my rankings, and I will do whatever I want. My rankings, my choice.
All right. I don't know if you guys got to watch the Monday Night Football game last night,
Sure did.
Last night
refs.
was the Justin Fields coming out party, particularly in the second half.
I watched the first half.
Oh, you watched the wrong half.
Yeah,
He looked good.
Especially on that last drive.
Dude, his deep ball was
Big moment for
money.
him.
He drove the ball really well.
Against Pittsburgh.
Big time plays.
Very good defense.
And the refs were, dude, these.
They did not help at all.
I saw it today all day, like the butt bump and all that kind of stuff.
It wasn't even, dude. It wasn't even just the bump up call, dude.
Some of the roughing the passer calls and
They called the touchdown back, and the guy didn't even touch him.
He didn't even touch him. He whiffed him, and they would have won the game. There's not many times where I felt like, wow. Honestly, I don't know if there's ever been a time where I've watched a game. Like, I've seen bad calls, right? Like,
right.
Wow, these refs have an agenda.
We all have. We're Browns fans. Go ahead.
I swear on my life, last night, it looked like the refs had an agenda that the Steelers had to win that game. Like, everything that possibly, like Justin Fields getting laid out. The call on the touchdown, bringing back when they said it was illegal blocking when he was inside the hash marks and he even touched the player. The butt. And then the ref has a nerd come out and is like, oh, they had nothing to do. I was calling it because it was taunting. It's like, dude, you bumped into him and then you grabbed your flag. You weren't even looking at him until that. So how are you calling taunting?
He was
when you
pimping
weren't
it
looking at
too.
him?
He was like holding his hand
Oh,
up.
yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
Dude, that was bad news. But Justin Fields looked dynamic.
I mean, I think it's a pretty bad look for the whole NFL at this point. Today.
Terrible look.
He's 70.
That dude,
That ref.
he looks it.
Is he?
70.
He looks
Dude,
old.
at no point should I ever watch professional football and feel like these refs are cheating the game. Like, this is with this Donahue from the NBA. Like, this is ridiculous.
Especially with all the money that people gamble on these games. Like, that's a
Dude.
bad look, man.
And then here I am as a Browns fan. Like, I need Pittsburgh to lose. Like, come on, Pittsburgh to lose. And here they are. They score good enough time for Pittsburgh to go down in the field. It's just, you knew it was going to happen. Yeah. But again, Justin Fields as a superflex quarterback looked dynamic. His deep ball, which was one of his strong suits in college, looked really good. Really drove the ball well. Was very accurate as well. Cole Kmet had some really good flashes there too. That would be a good combination for them. Tried to get Allen Robinson involved a little bit earlier to hamstring late.
The slot seam route there at the end.
What I liked, one of the plays I saw was it was just his quick decisiveness. Like when he was just running, like he didn't see it and he went, because Justin Fields, the biggest thing that I saw that I didn't like when we were watching his rookie tape was, when something wasn't there and he was getting some pressure, he had a tendency to make some mistakes. And early on in the NFL season, that seemed to be it's been even magnified in the NFL, obviously. So to see him kind of like 1, 2, 3, and then just go. That's what I think he needs to do to succeed in the NFL. Just until people can until they stop pressuring him so much, make him pay with your legs. If they're gonna rush you, they're gonna bring the house. They're gonna do all this stuff to kind of try to screw with your head and get you thinking too much. Stop thinking so much and just go. And then they'll have to adjust to you running.
Yeah, until the game slows down for him a little bit more too. There's a lot to go on there. But as a super flex upside guy, he looks terrific. Another guy in the game too, Pat Freiermuth, another rookie here.
Pat Freiermuth had a great
6
game
targets,
last night.
5 catches, 43 yards, 2 touchdowns. Previous week versus the Browns had that phenomenal touchdown catch too, which was amazing. I couldn't
believe he caught that.
We're going to get into this trades. I just made a trade. I was involved with Pat Freiermuth too, so I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts on it. But, I mean, again, for a dynasty, when you identify these young tight ends that are producing early, if Pat Freiermuth has a really good rookie year, usually what that translates to, if a tight end looks really good his rookie year and starts to produce, it usually translates to, obviously, unless your name is Evan Ingram, a high-end fantasy career, right? Like, we don't see a lot of production. So when you do see this, you do want to attack those situations, because odds are Pat Freiermuth was fantastic at Penn State. He's only going to get better here in Pittsburgh. Big Ben obviously is going to leave, so it's going to change things a little bit. But again, tight ends are rookie quarterbacks' help, safety nets. And honestly, Pittsburgh's in a situation where, like, I don't think they necessarily go out there and attack and draft a rookie. I can see them in the lines of signing a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo possibly, or maybe take a chance on bringing a guy like maybe Mitch Trubisky come in here.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Something along those lines. Sure. So
I think they should shoot a little higher than Teddy personally, but go ahead.
I would too. So
such a Teddy.
Pat Freiermuth looked
good. You said he said Mitch Trubisky. You didn't bat an eye. Teddy Bridgewater. I'll shoot higher than Teddy. Oh my gosh.
I think Mitch Trubisky offers some upside. I'd be buying.
I'm not saying he doesn't. It was just the totally okay with Trubisky and the utter disdain for the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos.
Listen, one of those guys broke his knee just doing a drop back. Nobody touched him. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to put it on.
We are in Mentors, Ohio right now.
I know. You would think there would be a little more love for Mitch, but I guess not.
Nope. Well, there is.
Well, no, I'm not going to. Yeah, I didn't bat an eye. Mitch is great.
Yeah,
go for it.
Right.
I mean,
that's true.
I'm hoarding Trubisky in a lot of super flex leagues.
Yeah,
I think that's
he's
a smart
great
move.
He's like free because he's going to get another shot at some point.
He's learning from Dable. Good spot. And then, if Dable gets a head coach somewhere, they possibly need a quarterback. They bring him in. That's a good spot. So, hey, listen, we got a lot of trades. Not a lot. We got some trades to talk about. We're running out of time here. We're almost at 45 minutes already. So let me talk about some of our friends before we get into these trades. Because I got a trade I want to talk about first. Let me tell you about MyBookie. More is always better, and that's why MyBookie instantly doubles all first-time deposits. With double the funds, you could double your action, and more importantly, double your wins. Get in on the action has never been easier. I could bet with all my favorite currencies, including crypto, and with all the extra scratch, why not get in on the biggest matchups of the week at MyBookie? As we inch closer to the NFL playoffs, there are some pivotal games to be on the lookout for. Now, for this weekend, including a showdown between the divisional rivals when the San Francisco 49ers take on the LA Rams behind the MVP candidate, Matt Stafford himself. The Rams are looking to continue rolling as they take on the fierce 49ers defense. The Rams are legit. Bet them to cover the spread. Just the way it is. Matt Stafford's out there slinging the ball. He's an MVP. Don't wait. Head to MyBookie today to redeem your double deposit bonus so you can get in the game and start winning now. Use that promo code NERDS to receive double your first deposit instantly. That's promo code NERDS so you can double your funds, double your winnings. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Promo code NERDS.
And let's also give a shout out to Prediction Strike.
Prediction Strike.
Yeah.
Shout out.
PredictionStrike.com, our favorite place to go when we want to buy, sell, hold shares of players just like we do our stocks, our cryptocurrency, same type of concept, same type of idea. They have a fantastic app.
Wait, they have Shiba on here?
Huh? Oh, for sure. Absolutely, they do in a way.
Brian Edwards is killing me on here.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, how about me who had him in my lineups all this week?
He's so bad.
Thanks for the goose egg, Big B.
Yeah, that didn't quite.
He's getting targeted, but every single target was off target by Carr.
Something's wrong there. Yeah. Something's wrong there.
Like
but
Beckham and Baker.
I know it's pretty bad, unfortunately. But there are other stocks like the Javonte Williams one we told you to get. It's looking better and better every single week. Every week, I swear there's a highlight of that kid just breaking 15 tackles.
It's redonkulous.
It really is. But you can go in and get players like Javonte Williams, like Elijah Moore, like all of these rookies, or maybe some vets that you think are going to bounce back. You can do that at PredictionStrike.com.
Could you imagine getting Cordell Patterson at the beginning of the year?
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
Whew. So.
That would have worked out pretty nicely.
Right with my trench coat.
With promo code DYNASTY, you can get a free share of your favorite player with the deposit of $20 or more. That is promo code DYNASTY to receive a free share with your first deposit of $20 or more at PredictionStrike.com.
All right, how much time do we have?
None.
We have
0 seconds.
We're at 50 minutes right now. We got time for the nerds.
How many trades do we have?
I can do as many as we want.
I know, because I'm thinking about carrying some of these over the nerd episode.
Okay, we can carry. Maybe, you want to do like 3?
Maybe we don't get as deep into the buy and sells, and we do some of these.
Sounds good.
We do some trades in nerd episode. Just kind of little treats of nerd guys. Before we get into your trades, let me drop one on you guys. I thought it was a pretty fair trade.
Okay.
I originally proposed this trade. He proposed it to me.
Okay.
I was like, yes, I will make the trade, and then he backed out.
Wait, hold on. What section? What section are we in?
What?
Trades.
Sorry, I was looking at my Ramondre Stevenson shares right now.
He's always doing something else.
This is an opportunity to shine.
We're looking at trades, man. We tweeted out for the Nerd Herd to send us their contender rebuild trades.
1 QB PPR leg. He originally, we were in negotiations, proposed a trade to me via text. I was like, yes, I accept. He said, good, I'm at the zoo. I will send it over. He gets back from the zoo and takes a nap and says, I can't make this trade.
Hate that.
That is the worst.
Why'd you propose it?
Yeah. And then he texted me later saying he declined the trade. He's like, hey, are you willing to trade Pat Freiermuth, who's originally part of the trade? And I was like, I will, but it takes away from our original package. So I just resent the same trade. And I woke up this morning, and he accepted the trade. So I traded away 1 QB PPR. I traded away Saquon Barkley.
Okay.
Odell Beckham Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Pat Freiermuth.
Okay.
And a 2024 second.
Okay.
I received J.K. Dobbins, Deebo Samuel, a 22 first, and a 23 first.
Oh, you got a great deal there.
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think
way to
that's
take advantage of somebody who doesn't pay attention.
My team is now.
Are you a contender?
My team's completely decimated with injuries. I got Calvin.
I was going to say if you're trading for JK, you better not be.
Yeah, obviously I have Saquon. I have Calvin Ridley in that league. I have Terry McLaurin. I have Mike Williams in that league. I had Odell Beckham, who's obviously been out.
All right, enough of yours. We gotta get to these
nerd
herd. We gotta get to the people, man. We gotta get to the people. We're carrying
over the nerd herd episode. This is just a trade. I'm a person too here.
So who cares about you, man?
Rich doesn't get to talk enough on the show. Let him have this.
Yeah. So you like the trade?
I do. I think that's a very good trade.
Yeah, I think you did very well.
The only way that could go south is if Saquon Barkley magically stops getting hurt and then goes on to be RB1 again. That's the only way. But,
and Pat Freiermuth is the next George Kittle.
Right. But the odds of both of those things happening.
Doug goes to Green Bay and becomes Devontae Adams.
Yeah, that trade sucks.
This trade blows.
Well, I'm also a really big J.K. Dobbins fan, so I helped it. It put me in a position so when Saquon comes back, I don't have to start him. Because right now I have the second worst record in the league because I just can't win. I have no,
Well, and you got a 23 first and a 22 first, which is nice to have both of those assets for the future.
Okay, so I win that trade?
I would say so. I don't think it's a blowout, but I definitely think you win.
Twitter gave me 85% to 50% on my side, but
80% to 50%
That's what I thought he said too, and then I realized he probably said 15.
135%. Holy shit!
They love it. So it's just I mean everybody else is kind of like I like his side too. Like I don't think it's a trade. Like Pat Freiermuth and OBJ for like Deebo isn't like crazy far off. If you need a tight end, and then JK and 2 firsts for JK or Saquon.
There you go.
All right.
We were talking about J.K. Dobbins. I think this would be a good segue into this trade heel here.
I'll be the heel of the show.
John Hornung Jr.
Somebody's in the mood.
He is trying to sneak into the playoffs. 12-team league, Superflex, half point PPR. He is giving up, so he's trying to get into the playoffs. He's giving up J.K. Dobbins, 2021 first, and a 2023 second.
2021 first.
Did I say 2021? 2022 first and 2023 second.
We'll let you go back in the draft.
And J.K. Dobbins for Nick Chubb. How do you feel about that move as a potential contender?
So you're giving up a first and a second in J.K. Dobbins for Nick Chubb.
Correct.
And you're trying to make a playoffs this year and win. Yeah, I like that trade a lot.
It's a steep price to pay.
Yeah.
But it's the price of admission, my friend.
Well, especially
that's exactly how you
you're
have to
getting
look at
certainty
it.
over mystery.
Yeah, absolutely.
and especially at close to the trade deadline. And
I mean, it stinks that he went out and now he's on the COVID list, and who knows if he's going to play this week. But
right. But I mean, he should be back.
Yeah.
Long term. And he wasn't getting production out of J.K. Dobbins this week anyway. So
Zero. He's not getting any production out of those first round draft pick, the second round draft pick, or J.K. Dobbins this year. So
yeah, so in a vacuum, I would say I don't know that he necessarily won that, but for a team that thinks it could be a contender, and if that move does in fact put you over the top, it's definitely
and that's what I mean, because I think if you see it on paper, you think, man, this guy is overpaying a bit for Nick Chubb, but in the reality of the situation, which is where all trades should be actually viewed, I think he's doing what he needs to do to get into the playoffs, and that's what you should do.
Yeah, that's why when you put trades on Twitter, they're not really good to do because nobody can see your team, and that's why we talked about this before. You can't be afraid to lose trades at this time of the year. Like you have to go into a trade if you're a contender, essentially knowing you're not going to win the trade for the most part. Like you have to go in like this guy who made that trade for me, right? Like he's trying to make a push. He's in third place, so he knows. So his theory is, and I told him, I was like, dude, if Odell comes back and goes to a good team, and he's evolved, if Saquon comes back and is running back one, this is gonna put you over the edge. Like, and I told him that, I was like, listen, I understand you're probably gonna be slightly overpaying here. But that's the cost of doing business when you're a contender. When you're a contender, you have to go into these deals understanding like you have no leverage here.
You have no leverage, and I think this is something that we never ever talk about. But when you're the person who trades a lot in your league, but if you're the person that wins every single trade and you're always getting something over on everybody in the league, guess what? People are going to stop trading with you. Right. You're going to get a reputation, and you almost have to do these kind of trades where you're overpaying sometimes as almost a goodwill gesture to show people that, hey, I'm willing to take one on the chin just so I can make this trade happen. And it's like you have to be able to relationship build almost with the whole rest of your league and say, hey, I don't have to win every single trade, or people will just stop trading with you. I've seen it happen in plenty of our leagues in the past. So, I think that's a small nuance that not everyone gets.
I think the easiest way to slightly overpay too when it comes to that is the draft capital wise, because you're not giving a player like it's on the other team to make that win or lose, right? Like, so if it doesn't work out for them, that's on them. Like, they could have drafted. Absolutely. Instead of taking J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, they could have taken him. You know what I mean? Like, or instead of taking Henry Ruggs, you could have taken Justin Jefferson. You know what I mean? Like, so it's on them to lose, and it's the easy ways to overpay, and it's the easiest thing to get back. Like, once you trade a good player that pans out, like, you're not getting him back. Like a second round pick, you can get that back. There's still
you can
time.
always make those up. Yep.
And the easiest way to make it look like overpaid is always draft capital. Like, like people tell me, I wouldn't have gave up 2 firsts. Like, okay, well, that's what it took to get the deal done. I'm trying to win. Like, this is where my team is. And guess what? I expect it to be 112 this year, and I expect it to be 112 the following year. So it's a late first. And there's a big difference between 112 and 1-3. So yeah, he's trying to win, which I'm always trying to advocate, and it's not too far off.
That's what it is. It's the difference between actually winning or winning a trade. Exactly. I want to be the person that's actually winning. You know what I mean? Not always winning a trade.
I put that in that Zeke Elliott trade like last year. Again, people were like, that guy from what's his face, whatever his name was, like, oh, that's not a good way to represent a site. Given that trade, you overpaid. Well, I gave up 2 firsts and David Montgomery for Zeke Elliott and Justin Herbert. I made this trade before. Now this year, Justin Herbert's my number 1 quarterback, looking great, and Zeke Elliott's playing well as well. So like, I don't care about. My exact answer was, I'm not here to win trades. I'm here to win ships. That's what we're here to do.
Yep.
Next trade.
All right, let's try to get at least
two more, and then we'll carry all
more?
these trades over.
Okay.
Well, the Nerd Herd episode we'll talk about a couple guys. I have to talk about James Conner now because I said I would. Besides that, we'll talk trades.
All right. Yeah, fun.
All right. This is from RB1_Taylor. Jonathan Taylor, obviously.
Clearly.
Clearly. He has the picture of Jonathan Taylor saluting even. Contending team.
So this is Jonathan Taylor himself.
This is him saying how much is too much to pay for me. No. Contending team, 1 quarterback league, 12
you, Garrett,
teams.
you're priceless, bud. Thanks, man. There is no overpay there. Go ahead.
It's the sweetest thing anyone's ever said to me. Hopkins and this is an interesting one here. I know which way I lean, but we'll talk about it. Hopkins and my late 2021 first.
2022 first.
Why do I keep saying 2021?
No idea.
2022 first for CD Lamb. Nuke Hopkins, and a late 22 first for CD Lamb. Contending team, 12-team league.
Is contending teams getting what?
Which side are they supposed to be getting?
They're getting CD Lamb.
If you're a contender, why are you trading for CD Lamb?
That's kind of like what I talked about with Elijah Moore earlier, so I figured you would have the answer for this.
Yeah, but I wouldn't give up DeAndre Hopkins to do it. I would just rather give up the 2 first.
So that's why I thought this was an interesting one, because this year I don't know that CD's necessarily better than Nuke.
I don't
and
think
you gave
he
up
is
a first on
this
top.
year.
Now, had this been flipped, if he was a rebuild, I think this would be a very good trade.
This would be an excellent rebuild trade.
Yeah.
So to Rich's earlier point, I guess if you did have that one eye on the future, and Nuke's obviously getting up there in age, but he's not going to. I don't think CD's not going to help you win a championship this year more so than DeAndre Hopkins.
He definitely will not help you more than DeAndre Hopkins. And DeAndre Hopkins signed that long-term deal with a lot of money guaranteed. So he's in Arizona for at least the next, like you got Nuke for 3 more years in Arizona, like almost guaranteed, like 3 more years. So I'm not doing it. I love CeeDee Lamb. Listen, Dynasty rankings, if I'm a contender,
this is almost flipped. It's basically backwards.
Yeah. Because like,
this is more of a rebuild trade more than a contender trade.
DeAndre sees all the targets.
Yep.
CeeDee's got to flip it with Dalton Schultz, Zeke Elliott, CeeDee Lamb.
Amari Cooper.
Mark Cooper.
He's got to compete for targets with himself.
He's got
I mean,
he's got 2 hands.
Obviously, yeah. To the left, to the right. Dip, baby, dip.
But he actually has a second trade in here, and this one is Mike Williams and his late 22 second. So Mike Williams and a 22 second to acquire DJ Moore. I like that one a lot more.
I would take DJ Moore.
All right, come on, Matt. Giving up a guy you love for a guy you don't like.
Yeah, you can see how much this is causing me like anxiety and angst right now. I don't like this trade.
Yeah, because you love Mike Williams and you don't like DJ Moore.
The second's out the window. The second doesn't even count to me. It's a late second.
Right.
So it's just Mike Williams and DJ Moore. To me,
so who do you think helps you more win this year is basically
that's what I'm trying to figure out. Like Mike Williams obviously started out so hot,
right,
and has petered out a little bit ever since his knee injury that he sustained, like week 5 or something like that.
Right.
Man. But DJ Moore is going to be attached to PJ Walker for like the next month. And who the hell knows what you're going to get out of that?
No, it hasn't been super great the past few weeks with Sam Darnold either.
Correct.
It's been terrible. Sam Darnold's been off. So I'm going to stick
with Mike Williams just because I like that offense better and I like the player better.
I think I would take DJ Moore.
I would take DJ Moore too. I would take DJ Moore every 10 out of 10 times in that trade, but I think it's very fair, and I think it comes back to the point of take your guy. And obviously Mike Williams is Matt's guy. I think Mike Williams is my guy too, but I think DJ Moore is just
more your guy.
I'm getting a little bit younger, and I think I'm getting a better overall fantasy football player. Yeah. So yeah.
All right, that wraps it up.
All right.
So we'll obviously just have to carry this over. We ran a little bit late. So we normally do our buys and sells of the week. We'll cut some of those guys out to talk trades a little bit because talking trades is fun and it kind of opens up different discussions here.
And it's a perfect time of year for it. We're right, for some people, it is trade deadline time.
It's make or break.
For most of us, it's closer to week 11, 12 or so. But this is the time of year where we're going to see high activity in almost every single league.
Yeah. So if you want to see this podcast, go to YouTube.com/Dynasty Nerds, and you can subscribe hit the notifications button, like the Dynasty Nerds channel. You get this podcast, and then also we break the podcast up into specific, little clips there. We do our not so obvious starts of the week on the YouTube channel, so we try to get more content out there in the off season. We get more content for rookies and all that too, as well on our YouTube channel. Of course, check out dynastynerds.com if you are a new listener to podcasts or just discovered us this year and haven't really utilized the website and just enjoy the podcast. You got to go over to dynastynerds.com. We have all the tools to help you manage and dominate your dynasty leagues. Not only do you get all those great, fantastic articles for free, but we have all the tools there as well, which includes in my opinion, which I'm completely biased, the number one tool in Dynasty Fantasy Football, which is the Dynasty GM. We had a big meeting last night about all these cool things come to GM. If you had the GM for the last year, you've seen how much that's evolved, and it's not going to stop. I mean, eventually it's literally going to be a one-stop shop. What we have planned here is you go in the Dynasty GM, and you can do everything you ever need to do in that app. So if you have multiple leagues, say you have leagues in Sleeper, Flea Flicker, and MFL, this is a one-stop shop. You can import all those leagues in GM and manage all your teams in one single shop. And then on top of that, you get the tools, you get the trade calculators, right? You get the trade finder we mentioned all this time on the show. But you get so many other tools. Like when it comes to rookies, you get the Nerd Score, which we've been working on for this last couple of years. You get the Dynasty Nerds Film Room to really watch these rookies and break them down. The Dynasty Nerds Film Room is going to give you games on every single prospect entering this draft. You can watch their entire game in 5 minutes of every single snap that they play, and that's it. So it's something what we watch our tape on. It's
absolutely,
and honestly, I know personally, it's what a lot of the people in this community, they use our site to watch game film. Whether it be big names that have blue check marks to your favorite Dynasty podcast, they use the Dynasty Nerds Film Room to study their rookie
even
tape.
Major League Baseball players use our film room.
They do. You are 100% correct there. So there's so many.
You'll have
great
to tell me which
there.
one because I don't know.
We'll
this.
actually discuss
Okay.
his trade
All right.
on the next show.
Awesome.
Oh, nice. We have a Major League Baseball player trade coming up here.
Interesting.
So, I mean,
It's still a football trade, though.
there's
course.
so many good things
Clarify.
over at dynastynerds.com.
Stay in our lane.
Would you trade Ronald Acuna for Fernando Tatis?
Who?
Yeah, you would say that.
So dynastynerds.com. And remember, every membership is just helping grow Dynasty Fantasy Football and the site and tools that we get. So the more members we get, the more we pay our developer, the more develop more tools. We're literally in constant development. We have been for over 2 years on this tool. It's only getting better. We're really excited after the meeting we had again yesterday as well. So check us out, dynastynerds.com, on Twitter, on all different platforms. We're there. We're here to help you win. And off season, remember, there is no off season in Dynasty Fantasy Football. It's 365 days a year. We'll be here with you every step of the way. Until next week, Nerd Herd.
Adios.